group than a review board of any type. And by 1997, this committee was phased out. Corresponding with that was in 1996 and 1997 when, largely because of environmental protests that were going on, Taxpayers for Headwaters and other groups, including the ACLU and the Human Rights Commission, again demanded independent oversight of the Sheriff's Department. The Board of Supervisors responded by referring it to the Human Rights Commission to evaluate. After a year of meetings, lots of study, research by members of the community, and a lot of hard work, they came back to the Board of Supervisors in 1998 saying that we need liaisons for each agency. And these liaisons would help people go through the complaint process. They wouldn't be advocates, but they would assist with the process. They would gather data on how many complaints were being filed, and they would work with the chief of each agency to help resolve community problems before they got bigger. In 2000, the Human Rights Commission came back to the Board of Supervisors and said, basically, here's a review of what we've been doing, and because of the nature of volunteers and turnover, we haven't exactly been performing the role that we wanted to, and so we want another year to collect data and report back. In 2004, the Redwood chapter of the ACLU gave these same reports and information back to the Human Rights Commission and continued to ask them to push forward for a review board. I want to say as an aside that I totally appreciate all the efforts of the Human Rights Commission, and I think that because of their efforts we're here now. In 2005, the Coalition for Police Review was formed, and primarily that was done because we felt that the Human Rights Commission needed assistance, and that it was going to take all of the groups in the community, the ACLU, Civil Liberties Monitoring Project, other organizations, to get a review board to happen in Humboldt County. 2006, 2007, you're probably all very familiar with the deaths, the mental health department getting involved with training officers and going out on critical incidents. The 10 principles for an effective Citizens Review Board. 1, independence. It has to have the power to conduct hearings and subpoena witnesses and report findings and recommendations. Investigatory power. The authority to independently investigate incidents and issue findings on complaints. Mandatory police cooperation. Complete access to police witnesses and documents through legal mandate or subpoena power. Adequate funding. Should not be a lower budget priority than police internal affairs systems. There needs to be hearings. These need to be conducted to resolve credibility questions. The board needs to reflect community diversity. They should be representative of this entire community. Policy recommendations should come from this board. Statistical analysis, trends in complaints and law enforcement practices. Separate offices, not in the same building as law enforcement. And a disciplinary role. This doesn't mean that they would be making disciplinary decisions necessarily for the officers, but that the chiefs or the sheriff would be taking the information from the board to use in their decisions about disciplinary decisions. So we can't say we've tried citizen review in Humboldt County. We can say that we have been pushing for effective review for a decade and a half. So how can I be optimistic? Well, I'm more than ready for a commission to be formed. It's past due. I'm optimistic because tonight the chief of Eureka Police Department indicated that the complaint forms and policies on complaints would be available on the website. I'm optimistic because of efforts of others in the community, the Human Rights Commission especially, but others who continue to voice their concerns and push for review. I'm optimistic because of the presence of all of you here tonight. I believe we will get independent and effective review for Humboldt County. We are known in Humboldt County for our ability to collaborate and reach solutions that will work for us. The model proposed to the Board of Supervisors shouldn't be so controversial. It doesn't meet some of the requirements for an effective review board, but it's a huge step. There is a real desire for community input into policies. There is a real need for the public to know that some group, besides law enforcement, is keeping track of complaints and able to hear their concerns. Even if a commission cannot discipline officers, the flow of information from a commission to the agency can certainly influence disciplinary decisions. The work has been done. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We are so fortunate to have experts with us tonight that are going to show us how this works in other communities. Humboldt County needed a review board during the last decade. Perhaps, indeed, it may have saved lives. I urge all of you to contact the Board of Supervisors to demand the immediate formation of a review board. Thank you.
Thank you. No applause till the end of the program, please. Now let's go on to the next speaker, Chief Nielsen.
Thank you very much for asking me to participate in this vitally important topic to the citizens of Humboldt County. I happen to be a strong proponent of transparency and accountability in our local law enforcement, but I'm also a strong advocate of maintaining my ability as Chief of Police to investigate citizen complaints and administer discipline to my employees. In the year that I've been the Chief of Police of Eureka, we have materially revised our citizen complaint form to make it more user-friendly. Our quality control and public trust depends upon citizen input. And while our staff generally provides extraordinary service to the community, there are times when we do not meet their expectations. In those instances, it's important that individuals believe they have an accessible avenue for having their concerns addressed. And while there was some initial internal trepidation over making the process more accessible, it has actually reaffirmed my conviction that we are providing exceptional service while remaining transparent and willing to accept responsibility for our actions. Additionally, we have instituted a process for conducting random quality control inquiries regarding our delivery of service. Our line supervisors are conducting periodic and random follow-up calls to persons who have utilized the services of the Eureka Police Department. The purpose of these calls is to determine whether we're providing the level of service that the community expects and deserves. We also conduct an extensive internal review of every instance where the use of force by our officers results in significant injury or death. The purpose of this review is to determine whether officers acted in accordance with policy and training and to examine whether improvements could be made in how we handle such incidents. For example, in the tragic death of Martin Cotton, we conducted an internal review of that incident and determined that we should make some changes in our policy to require that in every instance where a person sustains substantial injury or is involved in a confrontation that involved the significant use of force, a medical evaluation will be conducted separate and apart from that which may occur in the jail. I believe that my department is best situated to address allegations of misconduct and other critical incidents involving department personnel, but that meaningful citizen involvement can also make that process more effective while increasing public confidence in their integrity. In that vein, I have been and continue to be a supporter of a police advisory committee or a chief's forum, which would include citizens who would meet periodically with the chief of police to discuss policies, training, practices, etc. And to the extent that I'm permitted by our legal counsel and our personnel rules, I'm willing to include topics related to specific incidents. However, I will continue to oppose efforts to usurp my ability to manage my department, including disciplinary actions. I believe that there are adequate safeguards in place to ensure that potentially criminal or negligent police practice is appropriately investigated. In both the district attorney's office and through the grand jury process, there's a means for ensuring a system of checks and balances relative to accusations of misconduct against law enforcement officers. I believe that a police review board with investigative and subpoena power is redundant and would be a waste of precious public resources in this community.
Thank you. Let's go on to Barbara Attard.
Thank you. It's good to be here tonight. It's good to return to Humboldt County. I'm a Humboldt grad and spent 7 years up here. So I had a beautiful write-up from San Francisco today, and very happy to see so many people out here interested in civilian oversight of law enforcement. I think that the police chief raises some important issues about